And off the top of a very special 10 at 10 here, wins, losses, and even a few surprises. Primary election results are in now for Minnesota and Wisconsin.
And we begin tonight with our team coverage. Our reporters are covering Representative Ilhan Omar's narrow primary victory, a special election for Congress in southern Minnesota, and a 7-way race for Hennepin County Attorney.
All right, but first let's bring in Fox 9 political reporter Theo Keith. Let's get some insight on these races. Theo?
What a night it was in the Minneapolis-centric Congressional District 5, where Ilhan Omar won, but barely, over former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuels. Let's get to those results. She won by 35,000 votes 2 years ago. She's going to win by less than 3,000 votes. This year, it was right down to the wire. Don Samuels conceded about 30 minutes ago, so that race is over. Let's go to who Omar will face in November. Cecily Davis wins the Republican primary, so it will be an Omar-Davis matchup in a very blue district, one of the most Democratic districts in the country. To Congressional District 1 and the special election down south in southern Minnesota, Brad Finstad leading easily. However, you see there only 13% of precincts in. Election results in this congressional district are slow tonight because of some reporting challenges in this special election. By the way, it'll be a rematch between Finstad and Ettinger, Jeff Ettinger, the Democrat, in November because they have to run again for the full 2-year term in November. Moving on to the Republican race for Minnesota Attorney General. Jim Schultz, the GOP-endorsed candidate, is leading strongly there. It looks like he will go on to face Democrat Keith Ellison in the fall. In Hennepin County, the top prosecutor job in Hennepin County, Mary Moriarty, the former chief public defender in the county, is going to advance to November's election. At this point, it's a 2-person race between Martha Holton Dimmick and Ryan Winkler for the second spot. That's the 7 candidates in this race. The top 2 will move on to November. And then we have, wow, this is quite a surprise, John Thompson, a Democrat who represents East St. Paul in the state legislature and has been involved in myriad controversies, running for re-election against a DFL-endorsed candidate in the DFL primary, and he is absolutely getting routed. Just 9% of the vote for an incumbent member of the legislature. That's incredible and not a typo. I want to talk about some governor's races here. In Wisconsin, the race between Tim Michels and Rebecca Clayfish in the Republican governor's primary is very close, too close to call for the right to take on Democratic incumbent Tony Evers this fall. And then, of course, in Minnesota, neither Governor Tim Walz nor Scott Jensen faced strong challengers in their respective primaries tonight. They will go on to face each other in November's general election, just as expected, Walz and Jensen.
And Theo, going back to Congressional District 5, which includes Minneapolis and some of those first-ring suburbs, we already heard from Don Samuels. He addressed his supporters a little while ago. We took that live, and he talked about thanking his supporters, also extending an olive branch to Ilhan Omar as well, wanting to work with her. If she does talk to her supporters and address the public, we'll take that live, but you mentioned she may not do that tonight. No,
her last event was actually before polls closed. She was not going to have an election night party. Maybe she was privately forecasting that this race was going to be a lot closer than what she was saying publicly when she told me in an interview about a week ago that she was not very worried this time around. Well, the results bear out that she should have been a little bit more worried.
Yeah, she didn't run any TV ads at all. All right, thank you, Theo. The story in that Congressional District 5, again, not so much about who won or lost, but really how close that race was.
Yeah, a very thin margin between them, surprising a lot of people tonight. Courtney Godfrey in Minneapolis following this race where Don Samuels just conceded in the last 30 minutes. Courtney.
Yeah, I think it's easy to call this one a shocker tonight. Don Samuels calling this race a Goliath of a challenge. And while he conceded within the last hour, he recognized tonight that the fact that he came within a few thousand votes of the incumbent, that should be considered somewhat of a win. Don Samuels has been critical of the incumbent Ilhan Omar for what he sees as a lack of presence in the 5th Congressional District. And he says he hopes that coming within a few points of her when he was predicted to come a couple digit points behind, he hopes she learns from this.
My only hope is that my opponent will have learned a lesson from this. You cannot give poor constituent service, put your own dreams above the dreams and visions and desires of your community, hold scant and scarce town hall meetings, not be available to the press that serves your community, and get reelected easily.
You know, Samuels ran a more centrist campaign, a pro-police campaign, while Ilhan Omar has been a supporter of the defund police movement. Now, in this district, which is majority Minneapolis, that has been facing rising crime over the last several years, she will have to answer to those constituents who voted for Don Samuels and who wanted to see a change in public safety, who wanted to see more safety in their neighborhoods. I just talked to Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, and he obviously is a supporter of Don Samuels. He did not support Ilhan Omar in this race, and he was fired up. I think we're going to hear more about that tomorrow, but he said Ilhan Omar has been difficult to work with, and he puts it back on her to help the city of Minneapolis as they try and tackle this crime problem. Guys?
All right, thanks, Courtney. Minnesota